Start recording. Alright, hello. I'm going to do a video talking about the moon for a little bit. Earlier on this month I was talking about, I'm pretty sure it was this either the 14th or 15th, when the moon was pretty full. In fact, it was actually full on the 15th. And I'd been talking about what was significant about this was the fact that the moon was setting right about the time that the sun was coming up. So if you went out the back door, where I am in Kansas, and you look to the east, the sun was coming up. Okay, so you could see it at eye level, so to speak. And then off to the west, the moon was setting. In fact, it would kind of be more off to the north a little bit and the west for the moon, and then more to the south and the east for the sun. So you had these things kind of opposite one another, so to speak, and right at eye level. So they were balanced. Okay, so I thought that was interesting, and I just had talked about it in a video. Anyway, Sandra left me a comment saying, the 30th is a black moon, and I'm thinking, well, I don't know what the hell a black moon is. I don't really know a lot about all this stuff anyway. I'm thinking, I don't know what a black moon is. Well, I looked it up, and a black moon is our black moon. The moon's dark, it's a new moon here on the 30th, if you can see this down here. This is the second time this occurs in the month, though. Okay, so if we go back to the 1st, we've also got a new moon on the 1st of December. So all a black moon is basically the opposite of a blue moon. It's two new moons in a month. Okay, and a blue moon is where you have a second full moon in a month. So you have two full moons in a month, and that gives you the blue moon. Okay, and what we're dealing with here is a black moon. This is the second new moon. The second new moon in a month. Okay, so this thing is, if you like, it's the black pearl at this point. And Sandra did point out in the comments that this connection with the black Madonna. Again, this is it's the same idea basically. The moon is dark at this point. Okay, the same as when it passes in front of the sun and creates the eclipse, the solar eclipse. Again, we don't actually see any light coming from the moon because it's in its black state, in its black pearl state. Okay, the black Madonna. Anyway, I don't know in that last video way back when if I actually mentioned this or not. I had been looking at it, but there was something else that was interesting, because I thought to myself, these two things, are at eye level. The sun and the moon are at eye level. 8 o'clock it was coming up, and sunrise is about 7:30. Okay, so they're very close together, not dead on, but very close together. And by the time the sun got up a few more degrees and the moon had gone down a few more degrees, they were both kind of eye level, and it was interesting. Okay. What's also interesting, on the 14th, here it says the moon does not pass the meridian on this day. Okay, and what that means is, the way I understand it, is that because it takes longer than 24 hours for the moon to come up and hit its high spot and then come back down again. Okay, and the meridian is the kind of the high spot when it's in the sky. Because it takes longer than 24 hours on this particular day, what probably happened is it probably hit it the day before, just before the start of this day, and then it hit it again just after this day. Okay, had started, one or the other. As you can see, if you look at the meridian passing time here, it's 12:05. So obviously, for this following day, it's hitting almost right as the day begins. So this is kind of interesting stuff. Like, it's almost like the moon was in limbo on the 14th, yeah, and then on the 15th, when it was full, it I don't know, coincided with the the start of the calendar day. Okay, which again is another is coinciding basically with the sun. Okay, in direct, this thing is passing its high point right when the solar day is beginning as well. I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway, anyway, don't get too bogged down with that. What was the other thing that I was thinking was interesting was that I was thinking, well, as the moon is rising later in the day, okay, what's going to be interesting is that at some point the moon is going to, if you like, it's going to hit the meridian at the same point as when the I don't know how to explain this. At the same point as the sun's hitting its meridian, so at midday. So the point is here. Look, if we come down to this, I'm not doing a very good job at explaining this, but the moon's going to be coming up, moon rise, 7:47. That's the jet plane reference. It's going to be coming at 7:47, and obviously 74:47 is very much to do with the I don't know, it's the numbers that surround the balance number in the chart of Lorraine, 4 and 7. Obviously, like the new beginning of the United States, yeah, on 4/7. So it's going to be coming up and hitting its directly overhead, its meridian at roughly, well, and it says in here what it is. It's 12:13. Okay, 12:13, and it's going to be at 21.9 degrees in the sky. Okay, so 12:13, the moon is going to be rising close to when the sun's rising. Well, I mean, it's not going to be really close. We'll go to it in a second. But they're going to be hitting this midpoint at roughly the same time. Let's go to the sun for this day as well now. And this, again, is the black moon date here. So there's like a couple of things lining up for this, So this is this is sunrise, sunset for Kansas City, and we're roughly in the middle of the United States as well. Kansas City is pretty close to the middle of the United States. I say if you just stuck a pin in the map, that would be a good option for the where the middle would be. Anyway, look at this, 7:37, the rise. This is kind of interesting with that plane crash yesterday. Okay, 7:37. That was a 7:37 that crashed. Anyway, the 7:37 is rising. It's going to hit its meridian at 12:21. This is nice, isn't it? A nice palindromic number for midday. And then look at our nice set time as well of 5:05. The 55 here. So we've got the 37, the L number 73, and also 55 and 12:21. Very nice indeed, with the sort of balance going on here. We're only going to be 8 minutes off. 8 minutes is what we're going to be off on those two times, 12:13 to 12:21. You remember in the I showed you that bit in Red Dawn. Might have it still up here. Actually, I've got my video of it. In Red Dawn, I showed you the 13 and the 21 that was on the clock, and we read it backwards for 12:31. Interesting with this clock here as well, pointing straight up, like with the red pointing straight up like midday. That's kind of interesting. I don't know where this one's pointed. Kind of around. I'm not sure about this clock as well. It's like a timer clock, actually. It's probably a play clock of some description. I'm not sure. But yeah, this other hand's pointing down here towards the sort of, I would say around about 4, but I don't know what number that would actually be on that clock. Anyway, interesting with the one pointing straight up like the meridian. Okay, 12, 21, and 13. Okay, so that's pretty darned interesting. 13 being a moon number, 21 as well, 2001. So this is what this made me think of, is what we're essentially got. I'll get onto it in just a second. With the moon as well, notice what the set time was here as well, 4:40. So we had 55 for the sun and 4:40 for the moon, and we had the 7:47. So we had two aeroplanes referenced as well. This is just, it's just interesting stuff. And then the 12:13, which of course we're getting the 31 out of that as well. But this is what this kind of reminded me of, is this idea here in Space Odyssey, where what we really have, actually I might have a better picture of it here. I got it up a little bit bigger. This is this, I guess this, well, it says the opening, Space Odyssey. This is technically, I think, the moon here, if you can see my cursor. And then I'm guessing this is supposed to be Earth, maybe? I'm actually not sure what's what here. But my thought, this is standing on the moon looking at the Earth, and then there's the sun, and these three things are all in alignment here. Okay, which is really what we're talking about when we're talking about everything coming back into balance. But this kind of made me think of like this shot actually, with the sun being up higher than the moon, and then the moon being dark. So I'm kind of, forget this is the moon for a second. I'm kind of looking at the Earth as being the moon now, and it kind of reminded me of this idea. Let me show you a drawing of what we've got going on. Real technical. Okay, we've got the sun here, and this isn't to scale, or because this should probably be, the moon would probably be a little lower than this. But imagine this is midday. The sun's come up, okay, and this is midday, and it's going to set down over here. What we've got is, at this particular point, which would be around about 12:17, if I was write that right, 12:17, we've got these two things kind of lining up. It would be around about that time. I know there's some lag with how fast the moon's moving compared with how fast the sun's moving, and we've got that 8 minutes between those two meridian points. Okay, so the place at which these two are going to sort of cross over one another, okay, and what they're going to is going to be around about 4 minutes in either direction, if that makes sense. So we're going to split the 12:21 and the 12:13, and we're going to put 4 minutes on, and that's going to be roughly where these two sort of pass each other. So 12:17. But that's really what we're going on. So you can see where I was thinking about, the sun here and this moon here, like in Space Odyssey. Let me just draw a crescent on the edge of this, So that's what I was thinking there with that kind of lineup. And then we also had the 21 with the sun, with Space Odyssey, and obviously 13 and 31 are moon numbers. Okay, so kind of interesting stuff. Did I have something else I wanted to share? No, it was just the fact that these things were going to be lining up then. 12:21, 12:13. It was just interesting. Okay, and this fact that this is now a black moon as well. So I don't know. Something starting afresh tomorrow. Okay. There was something else I wanted to share with you, and I might as well tack it into this video, seeing as we're talking about space, so to speak. Oh, that's what I was going to say, actually. I did have one more sort of thought on this. Let me get rid of this, all this a minute, so I can just draw some lines on here. Because if you have, if we're right, here's the Earth, right? and we're stood up here. And we're going to pretend like it's just a globe, like everybody. And this is the horizon here. And so we have the moon here at, well, let's just round it, 22 degrees. Okay, and then we had the sun, oh, I don't know, up here at, and I'm drawing it like this for a reason, at like 20, I think it was 28. I think it was, let's go and just double check. The moon was at 21.9. The sun was at, just in case somebody wants to know the numbers, where were we at? Oh, where's my degrees here? Hang on a minute. Solar noon, right here. 27.8 degrees. 27.8. Okay. Now, my thought was, okay, the one's at 22, one's at 28. My thought was, if we are sat on a globe, and the middle of the globe was here, I was just wondering whether these things were actually lined up towards the center of this thing, if that makes sense. You know, if we're taking our measurements from the horizon here, and you were to burrow yourself all the way down to the center of the earth and then take those measurements, whether these things were lined up perfectly or not. I don't know how the hell you would figure that out. Well, I could probably have a go at it, but I really can't be bothered. It was just an idea, like, I wonder if they're lined up like this at that point, you know. Because obviously, Dan, I mean, you know, if these objects are on this line here and this line here, you know, you could put the object anywhere on that line, you know, and potentially line it up, you know, if you follow what I'm saying. And you've got no way of knowing the actual size of the moon, because I know they do vary a little bit. I don't know if that makes any difference as well, as to how far you would want to project it back. You know, if the sun was just a little bit bigger and the moon was a little bit smaller, I don't know, this is getting way too technical. But that was just an idea, you know, whether there was some way of, yeah, I don't know if I really thought that through correctly enough there to really be thinking about that, but I don't know. Does that make sense to somebody? Maybe, you know, that maybe these things are all lining up, you know, on this level, you know, like this as well as like this. I don't know. Anyway, rounded, that's 50 degrees, a bullseye. It's kind of interesting, those two added together. There was something else I was going to show you. Let's do this, because I don't know where else to put this. This is the film Deep Impact. Okay, this is a I had the time somewhere here where that was on. This is a meteorite, comet, I guess, going to hit the Earth and blow us to smithereens. And let's just, I might have gone by it. Let me play this. He's just going to announce when this thing's going to hit. Okay, so let's just listen to when he says this thing's going to hit.
It's being built in orbit around the Earth.
Maybe you said it before then. Hang on. Gosh. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I've hit the right spot, I think. Let me back that up a bit. Come on. Let's listen to Morgs for a second. So he's going to say when this thing's going to hit us. Okay.
On August 16th, roughly a year.
Did you get that? Oh dear. Oh dear, I've gone back way too far now. What was I pressing there? Pressing the wrong button. I've really made a hash of this. Boy, Dan, you're a real professional when it comes to this stuff. Oh, this was interesting as well. Before he's announcing this, there's some interesting stuff here. I'm guessing this is maybe Times Square or somewhere. maybe, I'm not sure, where they have the ball drop on New Year's, you know. That could be a subtle hint. I'm sure it was like 29 something.
So for the past 8 months, the United States and Russia
So for the past 8 months, they've been
building the largest spaceship ever constructed. It's being built in
the past 8 months.
pool table and is knocked into a different orbit. Now, if this comet continues on its path around the sun and
around the sun, and they show it where it almost
keeps its present
looks
course,
like it hits the sun. Keeps its present course. Look, here we go. Sometime on August the 16th.
sometime on August 16th,
roughly. And so, what's interesting about this is he says they've been building the space station for 8 months. Well, that puts us around about now sort of time, either from finding out or at least deciding to start building the space station, which is kind of interesting. And then we also had, yeah, I'm not sure if that really is Times Square or not, right, in the preceding this. Somebody probably knows out there.
The Hale-Bopp stand-up.
There's some interesting bits and pieces as well up to this point.
comets begin
We've got this.
and far out in space. What's left over from
Ah, dear.
the creation of the solar system.
I don't know, there was some interesting numbers coming here. Here we go, look at this 1217 up here. I've just stopped it just right for that. What were we just saying about that time? You know, and look at this Joe Boxer as well. Interesting. With maybe Joe's particular, maybe Joe's going to get knocked out of the ring now. Boxing Day for Joe. Look at this as well with the, I guess this is a 11:30, so we've got a Billy Idol reference, and we've also got this 12:30 in here as well, and then the 12:17 just said, you know, this is when the sun and the moon's going to be kind of hitting the same spot in the sky, so to speak. One's going to be below the other, and we're not going to be able to see the moon, of course. It's already gone past today. But anyway, yeah, you know, I'm not sure if this is Times Square
After the planets were formed billions of years
not.
ago. Now,
Who knows? This is part. I don't know. But anyway,
space debris are in an elongated orbit
somebody
around
knows
our
out
sun.
there. That's kind of interesting with the idea of the ball drop on
But every now and
New
then,
Year's, isn't
one of
it?
them gets
I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, okay? Because I'm just waffling. Really waffling now. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. It's a little bit different from normal, but it is kind of interesting, isn't it? That those two things were, at midday today, were kind of in alignment. Yeah. Alright. Thanks for watching. Alright, cheers. Bye.